Today, we're diving into the haunting story of two brothers, both firefighters, and both local heroes. One saved the other from a burning building. For years, they worked side by side, raised families next door, and shared everything. However, behind that bond was a secret that unraveled everything. What started as a weekend trip between brothers ended with a body in the woods and a family shattered forever. At 2:58 a.m. on January 17, 2018, a 911 call reported a fire at an abandoned textile warehouse located off Murphy Avenue SW in southwest Atlanta. The building, constructed in 1952 and unoccupied since 2003, had a known history of structural deterioration and unauthorized access. Multiple calls followed in the next 2 minutes, reporting visible flames breaching the second floor and heavy black smoke rising above the roofline. The fire was declared a 4-alarm incident before units even arrived. Engine 11 was among the first to respond, dispatched from Station 14 on Metropolitan Parkway. On board were Captain Kevin Anthony James, age 30, and firefighter Trey Dunnell James, age 26, brothers and co-workers with the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department. Both men had been assigned to the same station since 2015. Captain James had been promoted in 2016 and held a leadership role within the unit. According to personnel records and internal reviews, the brothers worked well together and were considered reliable in high-pressure incidents. The fire had intensified quickly. Later investigations determined that a ruptured natural gas line on the warehouse's southern side had ignited shortly before crews arrived. This greatly accelerated the fire's spread and weakened the interior supports. By 3:15 a.m., large portions of the second floor had become structurally unsound. Captain Kevin James entered the structure at approximately 3:11 a.m. with a small team assigned to conduct a rapid primary search of the upper level. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Minutes later, a steel beam collapsed inside, pinning him beneath debris. At 3:17 a.m., he radioed a mayday, stating he was low on air, immobile, and unable to reach his exit path. Incident Command ordered all interior crews to withdraw and wait for a rescue team equipped for reinforced entry. Stabilization was required before anyone could re-enter the zone. Despite this, firefighter Trey James re-entered the building at 3:20 a.m. without clearance. He used a side entrance on the east side of the warehouse, carrying only a crowbar and flashlight. Radio logs show no recorded communication from Trey at this stage. According to post-incident reconstruction, Trey advanced approximately 40 to 45 feet into the compromised structure under zero visibility conditions. He located Captain James, still conscious but fading due to smoke inhalation and restricted airflow. Trey cleared debris manually and used the crowbar to lift a collapsed beam enough to pull Kevin free. At 3:24 a.m., the two men exited through a northern access door. Less than 30 seconds later, the second floor collapsed entirely. This sequence was later confirmed by thermal imaging data and audio recordings from helmet mics. Both brothers were immediately transported to Grady Memorial Hospital. Kevin suffered 2 fractured ribs, a dislocated left shoulder, and acute smoke inhalation. He was admitted for a 14-day recovery. Trey was treated for minor burns on his forearms and a mild concussion. He was released within 24 hours. Video from Trey's helmet camera was submitted as part of the department's post-incident review. Though the footage showed a clear breach of command protocol, departmental leadership declined to pursue disciplinary action. An internal memo dated February 2, 2018, cited mitigating circumstances in an extreme rescue environment and noted that the unauthorized entry likely saved Captain James's life. On February 6, 2018, during a formal event at City Hall, firefighter Trey James was awarded the Atlanta Fire Rescue Medal of Valor. Captain Kevin James, still recovering, made a brief statement, "My brother saved my life. I wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for him." In the months following the fire, both brothers returned to active duty. Their actions were widely recognized within the fire service community across Georgia. Trade publications, including Firehouse Magazine and Fire Engineering, published detailed accounts of the Murphy Avenue incident, using it as a case study for training and discussion. In 2019, the James brothers co-founded a private company, James Safety Solutions LLC. Based in East Point, the firm specialized in fire code consulting and construction site inspections. It quickly developed a strong client base across Fulton County, leveraging their field experience and local reputation. In October 2011, Trey Donnell James married Melissa Elaine Brantley, a trauma nurse at Grady Memorial Hospital. The wedding took place in Decatur, Georgia, and Kevin James served as the best man. In 2012, Trey and Melissa welcomed their first son, Malik. A second child, Devin, was born in 2017. The family settled in East Point, a suburb of South Fulton County. By 2018, the James brothers lived within the same neighborhood, just 3 houses apart on Wellington Street. Their personal and professional lives remained closely connected. That same year, they co-founded a business, James Safety Solutions LLC. The company provided private fire safety inspections, building code compliance reviews, and consultation services for new commercial and residential developments. According to public business filings, the firm became operational in March 2018 and secured its first municipal contract 6 months later. By 2020, James Safety Solutions had active service agreements with several Fulton County developers and property management firms. The brothers frequently appeared together at professional events. Their bond was noted by colleagues and neighbors alike. They organized joint family gatherings, participated in local charity runs, and were involved in school functions for the children. Kevin, who remained unmarried, was a regular presence at Trey's home. He was commonly referred to by family members and friends as Uncle Kev, a dependable figure who often helped with childcare and household tasks. However, over time, there were occasional comments from those in the couple's social circle that Kevin's involvement seemed unusually close. Friends and co-workers later described subtle signs, extended private conversations between Melissa and Kevin, unexplained absences during family events, and changes in demeanor when all three were present. Despite this, no official or documented concerns were ever raised by Trey or Melissa prior to 2023. On March 12, 2023, Melissa Brantley dropped her phone in the Grady Memorial Hospital employee parking lot. The device's screen was severely damaged and became unresponsive. Trey James offered to help by restoring her iCloud backup to a previously unused iPhone stored at home. During the setup process, he noticed a secondary Apple ID listed under the family sharing settings. The associated name was Kevin James. Upon accessing the shared content, Trey discovered hundreds of messages, some marked as deleted but recoverable via iCloud Sync. According to later forensic analysis, the messages spanned a period of at least 8 years and included both text and multimedia communications between Melissa and Kevin. The earliest recovered conversations dated back to late 2010, several months prior to Trey and Melissa's wedding. The messages included explicit content, coordinated hotel visits, audio recordings, and multiple references to concealment. One message timestamped February 2021 was a forwarded PDF lab result confirming a paternity test. The report identified Kevin James as the biological father of Devin James, who was then 4 years old. The sender of that message was Kevin himself. Over the next 48 hours, Trey created a backup archive of the content. Using a secure USB device, later labeled smoke damage, he compiled photos, voice memos, contact logs, calendar events, and metadata. He also began assembling a digital timeline, cross-referencing the messages with travel records, bank statements, and call durations. Investigators later reviewed this archive in full. The materials were organized chronologically and labeled with document IDs. According to the district attorney's report, the file structure and timestamps showed no signs of alteration. Trey did not immediately confront Melissa or Kevin. Over the following 3 weeks, he continued his regular routines, attending work functions and maintaining contact with both parties without disclosing his discovery to any third party. Neighbors later described his demeanor as normal, though a few recalled him being unusually quiet during a family barbecue in mid-March. Following the discovery of the affair and the DNA result confirming Kevin James as the biological father of Devon, Trey Dunell James took no immediate action. According to investigative records, he did not confront his wife, Melissa Brantley James, nor did he make any contact with his brother regarding the information. Instead, he began a deliberate process of data collection and digital archiving. Over the next several days, Trey transferred all relevant communications to a secure external USB drive, later recovered and logged by authorities under the name Smoke Damage. The drive contained over 1,400 messages, including deleted content retrieved through iCloud synchronization. In addition to message data, Trey downloaded photos, voice memos, location metadata, and calendar entries. According to a forensic review conducted by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, the folder structure and timestamps indicated a methodical process. File names followed chronological order and included annotations by date, location, and sender. Trey also began cross-referencing the message content with financial records, hotel receipts, and phone logs. He created a spreadsheet timeline using a personal laptop, organizing the data into columns labeled date, location, subject, and cross-evidence. Later analysis of that file showed more than 60 entries spanning from 2010 to early 2023. The timeline included known meetings between Melissa and Kevin, travel overlaps, and private text messages aligned with specific charges or locations. Investigators concluded that this level of documentation indicated premeditation not only in analysis but in the psychological processing of betrayal. During this period, Trey continued to function publicly without any noticeable change. Witness statements collected later confirmed that he remained socially active and showed no outward signs of distress. He attended a neighborhood cookout on March 19, brought his sons to a youth soccer game on March 22, and participated in a fire inspection meeting for a downtown renovation project on March 24. Surveillance footage and work attendance logs showed no disruption to his daily routine. According to those close to him, Trey maintained regular interactions with both Melissa and Kevin throughout this time. Phone records confirmed continued contact. He even appeared at a poker night hosted by Kevin on March 25. One attendee later described Trey as quiet but calm, appearing more reserved than usual, though not distant. Despite his outward demeanor, Trey's inner turmoil began to manifest as he planned what would later be interpreted as a final confrontation. On April 3, he made a reservation for a lakeside cabin located near Lake Sinclair in Putnam County, Georgia. The booking was made using his personal debit card for a twilight stay scheduled for April 8 through April 10. He listed Kevin James as the second guest. 2 days later, on April 5, Trey called his brother. According to cell records, the call lasted approximately 4 minutes. While the content of the conversation is not recorded, subsequent messages confirm the trip was agreed upon. Kevin was framed by Trey as a nostalgic getaway, an opportunity for the brothers to reconnect away from their professional and family obligations. In preparation for the trip, Trey packed lightly. According to the incident inventory, items recovered from the cabin included basic fishing gear, a standard first aid kit, firewood, and a half-empty bottle of bourbon whiskey. Also recovered was a sealed envelope labeled, "For Kevin when it's over." The envelope contained printed messages from the affair, the DNA report from 2021, and a handwritten letter authored by Trey. On April 8, 2023, the two men arrived at the rental cabin located near a wooded inlet off Twin Bridges Road. The area is known for its isolation and is commonly used for short-term vacation stays. The check-in occurred at approximately 2:30 p.m. According to autopsy findings and later testimony, the evening of April 8 passed without any recorded violence or incident. No calls or texts were made from either phone after 5:42 p.m. That evening, neighbors from a nearby rental recalled hearing male voices and laughter from the cabin porch. There were no noise complaints or disruptions. In the handwritten letter found later, Trey referenced this night directly, writing, "I always owed you, but I never told you how much I needed you around." On the morning of April 9, 2023, at approximately 6:42 a.m., a passing motorist traveling northbound on Georgia State Route 129 reported an overturned vehicle in a ditch near mile marker 41, roughly 8 miles outside Eatonton, Georgia. Emergency responders from the Putnam County Sheriff's Office arrived at the scene at 6:47 a.m. The vehicle, a 2016 Ford F-150 registered to Trey Dunnell James, was found flipped upside down off the east shoulder of the highway. First responders located Kevin Anthony James, aged 35, outside the vehicle approximately 12 feet from the passenger side door. He had been ejected from the vehicle and showed no signs of life. Emergency medical technicians on site pronounced him dead at 6:51 a.m. The official cause of death, confirmed later by autopsy, was blunt force trauma to the head and upper chest consistent with high-speed impact and ejection. Trey James, the driver, was found conscious but disoriented inside the vehicle, still secured by his seatbelt. He exhibited no life-threatening injuries and was transported to Oconee Regional Medical Center in Milledgeville for evaluation. Upon preliminary questioning by deputies at the hospital, Trey stated that a deer had jumped into the road, prompting him to swerve. He claimed to have lost control of the vehicle, which rolled and landed in the ditch. He described the event as a tragic accident. However, the findings at the crash site quickly raised doubts among investigators. Skid marks were absent from both sides of the highway, indicating that no braking action had been taken prior to the crash. More critically, crash reconstruction analysis determined that only one seat belt on the driver's side had been engaged at the time of the incident. The passenger airbag had deployed, but there were no traces of blood, hair, or contact on it. Kevin's injuries, combined with forensic data from the truck's event data recorder, EDR, showed he was not restrained at the time of the crash and was thrown through the windshield by force consistent with a frontal impact at approximately 47 miles per hour. No evidence of animal activity or biological material consistent with a deer or other wildlife was found in the area. Weather conditions were clear, and visibility was unobstructed. During the inventory of the vehicle, investigators discovered a sealed manila envelope in the glove box labeled, "For Kevin when it's over." Inside were printed screenshots of text messages between Melissa Brantley James and Kevin James, along with digital photos, voice memos transcribed onto paper, and a printed DNA report dated February 2021 confirming that Kevin James was the biological father of Devin James. The envelope also contained a handwritten note from Trey. Its closing line read, "You died in that fire. I kept you alive. And this is how you thanked me." The materials were entered into evidence. A search warrant for Kevin James's iCloud account was executed the following day. Forensic specialists recovered multiple deleted audio files. In one recording, Kevin is heard whispering, "I tried to stop it. But I loved her. I always have." The voice was verified by voice matching software and confirmed by family members. Melissa Brantley James was brought in for formal questioning on April 11, 2023, at the East Point Police Department. Under recorded interview, she initially denied the relationship, but when presented with digital evidence, admitted that the affair had begun in late 2010 prior to her marriage. According to her statement, she and Kevin ended contact before the wedding, but reconnected in 2015 after the birth of Malik. Melissa described the renewed affair as emotional at first, then physical. She stated that it continued intermittently through 2022. She also confirmed that she had taken a paternity test in 2021 after Trey expressed concerns about Devin's appearance. The test was initiated privately with Kevin's knowledge. The results confirmed Kevin's paternity of Devin. Melissa claimed she had intended to disclose the truth but never followed through. She denied any intent to harm or deceive beyond what she called an emotional collapse. DNA testing conducted by the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office later verified that Malik James was biologically the son of Trey James and that Devin James was not. Kevin James's genetic match to Devin showed 99.98% certainty. On April 14, 2023, Trey Donald James was formally charged with second-degree murder, vehicular homicide, and destruction of evidence in connection with the death of his brother, Kevin Anthony James. The charges were filed in Fulton County, Georgia, following a multi-agency investigation involving the Putnam County Sheriff's Office, Georgia State Patrol, and the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. Trey was held without bond pending trial. The case moved swiftly through preliminary hearings. The prosecution submitted extensive digital documentation collected from the crash scene, the recovered USB device labeled "smoke damage," and subpoenaed cloud accounts belonging to both Melissa and Kevin James. The court set a trial date for October 9, 2023, in Fulton County Superior Court, with Judge Marilyn Kinnear presiding. According to the timeline, the crime had been planned over a span of several weeks. Prosecutors introduced the cabin reservation made by Trey on April 3, the evidence pack prepared in advance of the trip, and the coordinated nature of the travel. Testimony from crash reconstruction experts confirmed that only the driver's seatbelt had been engaged. Medical examiners reinforced that Kevin's fatal injuries were consistent with an unrestrained ejection and not survivable. The envelope left in the glove box containing the printed DNA report and Trey's handwritten note was entered into evidence without objection. The prosecution argued that the motive was not a momentary loss of control but rather a cold and deliberate act driven by betrayal and the collapse of a carefully built life. They asserted that years of suppressed resentment culminated in what they described as a silent planned execution disguised as an accident. Conversely, the defense, led by attorney Colin Reeves, centered its case on psychological distress. Reeves presented a theory of diminished responsibility due to cumulative trauma, introducing expert testimony diagnosing Trey with post-traumatic stress disorder, citing multiple exposure events throughout his firefighting career, including the 2016 East Lake apartment fire and the 2018 Murphy Avenue warehouse incident where Trey had carried Kevin to safety under life-threatening conditions. Character witnesses, former colleagues, neighbors, and a retired fire chief spoke to Trey's reputation for selflessness and stability. Several described him as the last person they would expect to be capable of violence. However, the prosecution countered that despite any mental health conditions, the planning was extensive and precise. Trey had booked a remote location, prepared and labeled evidence, and driven both men away from populated areas. The court was shown phone metadata confirming Trey had researched directions to the cabin, weather conditions, and lodging amenities well in advance. During closing arguments, the state emphasized the nature of the betrayal, asserting that Trey not only felt deceived but acted with intent and preparation. Prosecutor Emmons stated, "There is a difference between heartbreak and homicide. Mr. James made a choice, and that choice ended a man's life." After 4 days of testimony and 7 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a unanimous verdict on October 17, 2023. Trey Donald James was found guilty on all counts. Judge Kinnear imposed the maximum sentence allowed under state law, 25 years imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Sentencing was carried out immediately following the verdict. In her closing remarks, Judge Kinnear stated, "This was a tragedy on every level. A family destroyed, a life taken, and another life now confined, not by accident, but by intent." The courtroom remained silent during the reading of the sentence. Following the verdict, representatives from the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department issued a statement acknowledging the case while reaffirming their commitment to mental health awareness and support services within the department. "We grieve for all involved," the statement read. "This is a loss beyond measure and a reminder of the weight our members carry both in service and in silence." As of January 2024, Trey James is serving his sentence at Dodge State Prison in Chester, Georgia. No appeals have been filed at the time of this writing, and the case remains closed. At the sentencing hearing on October 17, 2023, following the guilty verdict, Melissa Elaine Brantley was permitted to deliver a victim impact statement. Her testimony lasted just under 2 minutes. Speaking quietly and without prepared notes, she addressed the court. "I broke something sacred between two brothers. One is dead, the other is gone. I ruined them both." She then requested to speak to Trey James privately, but the presiding judge, citing procedural restrictions and the nature of the conviction, denied the request. The Atlanta Fire Rescue Department held a closed memorial service for Captain Kevin Anthony James on November 4, 2023. The service was not open to the public and was attended by department members, city officials, and Kevin's extended family. No references were made during the ceremony regarding the circumstances surrounding his death. The focus remained on his professional record, including a specific citation for his actions during the 2016 East Lake apartment fire in which he rescued 3 children from a third-floor unit during a nighttime response. Trey's name was not included in the printed program and was not mentioned during remarks. Following the trial, custody of Malik and Devin James remained with their mother, Melissa. No petitions for guardianship or alternate placement were filed. A trust fund was established in the children's names by the Atlanta Firefighters Relief and Charitable Fund, seeded by departmental donations and private contributions. The fund is managed by a third-party trustee, with disbursements limited to educational and medical expenses. In a brief interview given outside her East Point residence in December 2023, Melissa stated, "My sons are innocent. I will spend the rest of my life proving that one mistake doesn't define them. I want them to have peace, and I want them to know the truth when they're ready." The cabin near Lake Sinclair, where the brothers had stayed prior to the crash, was sold in early 2024. According to property transfer records, the structure was listed as vacant as is and purchased by a private buyer. The location of the crash on Route 129, now marked only by worn tire tracks and faded grass, has become overgrown. There is no official marker or sign to indicate what occurred there. Among the materials entered into evidence and later transferred to the Putnam County Sheriff's Office archives was a matchbook. It was found in the passenger area near Kevin's body and preserved despite partial charring. On the inside cover was a handwritten message, "Brothers are born in fire, but sometimes fire takes them back." The matchbook was logged but never publicly displayed. Investigators were unable to determine exactly when the message was written or by whom. The James case, as it came to be known in legal and media records, was archived in full by early 2024. No outstanding evidence remained under review, and no further charges were filed. All appeals deadlines expired without action from the defense. Professionally, the incident prompted procedural changes within the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department. A memo issued in February 2024 expanded psychological screening protocols for personnel involved in traumatic incidents. Additional wellness checks and peer support initiatives were formalized for individuals with long-term exposure to high-risk environments. This incident serves as a cautionary tale of the personal and professional complexities that can arise within close-knit communities, particularly under the immense pressure faced by those in high-stress professions like firefighting.